Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. After the Bears' Week 8 loss to the Baltimore Ravens, all eyes turned toward Caleb Williams once again. The rookie quarterback, the #1 overall pick, the supposed savior of Chicago, was immediately placed under the microscope. The final score wasn't pretty, the box score wasn't kind, and the highlight reels circulating on social media didn't do him any favors. But when head coach Ben Johnson took the podium and later spoke to ESPN Chicago, his tone and message cut through the noise like a sharp blade. He wasn't there to add fuel to the fire. Instead, he made something abundantly clear. Caleb Williams is not the problem, and his development is moving in the right direction, even if the results haven't quite caught up yet. When Johnson was asked about Williams' performance following the loss, he didn't dodge the question or sugarcoat the team's issues. He admitted the offense didn't do enough to win. The Bears didn't score the points they needed, they made costly mistakes, and their execution fell short. But the coach also emphasized that the tape told a different story than the stat sheet did. I think the thing is, you look at this particular game, and yeah, we didn't score the points, we didn't do enough to win. The stat line, no touchdowns, 1 interception, but he played better this game than I think he had the previous 2, Johnson said. That single statement set the tone for his entire post-game reflection. There was frustration, sure, but there was also optimism. For Johnson, progress matters more than perfection, and this week he saw progress. This is the type of nuanced take that doesn't always make it to social media, where fans are quick to assign blame and even quicker to call for heads to roll. After the game, many fans took to X, formerly Twitter, and message boards demanding that Williams be benched or at least taught a lesson. But Johnson's comments revealed that behind closed doors, there's a very different conversation happening inside Halas Hall. The Bears' coaching staff isn't panicking. They're evaluating. They're teaching. They're identifying the growing pains that come with developing a rookie quarterback in a league that chews up and spits out young players who can't adapt fast enough. Williams entered Week 8 with 2 main coaching points drilled into his preparation: improve his completion rate and make smarter decisions when the play breaks down. The Ravens' defense, one of the most aggressive and complex units in the league, was going to test both of those areas. And for the most part, Williams responded. He completed 25 of 38 passes, marking his second highest completion percentage of the season. He looked more comfortable within the structure of the offense, showed patience in his reads, and even made some impressive plays when forced to escape the pocket. Those are the kinds of details that don't always show up in the box score, but jump out on film. The subtle footwork adjustments, the quicker release, the willingness to check down instead of forcing deep throws. I saw tangible growth from him, Johnson said, almost sounding proud. He's working his tail off. I think this thing's going to continue to slow down for him. I think it did to a degree in this game. That's the kind of statement you only make about a player who's putting in the effort, who's showing you signs of progress even when the outside world can't see it yet. Johnson knows the numbers look ugly right now. He knows fans are restless. But he's also smart enough to know that tearing down a rookie's confidence in Week 8 does nothing for the long-term future of the team. The coach did acknowledge the mistakes, of course. The most glaring one came early in the fourth quarter, when Williams tried to squeeze a pass into Rome Odunze in a tight window deep in his own territory. It was a poor decision, one of those rookie moments that coaches talk about in hushed tones. The interception quickly turned into a Baltimore touchdown, a 7-point swing that changed the entire momentum of the game. Johnson didn't sugarcoat it. It was a bad throw, a bad read, and a bad decision. But even then, he framed it as a learning opportunity rather than a disaster. He did have a couple of mistakes that we'll learn from, Johnson said. That phrasing matters. It's about growth, not condemnation. There were also the 2 intentional grounding penalties earlier in the game that stalled promising drives and killed field position. Those were classic examples of a young quarterback still learning how to manage chaos. The Ravens' pass rush was relentless, collapsing pockets faster than Williams could reset. In those moments, Johnson wanted to see more situational awareness. Throw the ball away earlier. Live to fight another down. It's something that can only be learned through repetition, through making the mistake, feeling the consequence, and adjusting the next time it happens. More situational awareness, Johnson repeated, underlining the point. All in all, I think he did a pretty good job of giving us a chance throughout. The reality is that the Bears' offensive struggles weren't solely on their quarterback. The running game sputtered badly, averaging just a few yards per carry, and once Chicago fell behind by multiple scores, the burden fell squarely on Williams' shoulders. That's a tough spot for any quarterback, let alone a rookie still adjusting to the speed and complexity of NFL defenses. Johnson noted that while the passing game wasn't where it needed to be, it was still a step forward compared to the previous week. That's how you build an offense from the ground up, brick by brick, game by game. Improvement over perfection. What makes this dynamic between Johnson and Williams so interesting is that it's clearly built on trust. The coach sees something in his quarterback that goes beyond raw talent. He sees work ethic, accountability, and resilience, the ingredients of long-term success. Johnson is fully aware that developing a young quarterback isn't about quick fixes or overnight transformations. It's about building habits, understanding systems, and developing poise under pressure. And for all the noise from the outside, Johnson's message remains consistent. Caleb Williams is his guy. It's not the first time Chicago has been here, hoping, praying, and investing emotionally in a quarterback who can finally turn the franchise around. From Mitch Trubisky to Justin Fields, fans have seen flashes of potential followed by frustration and disappointment. That's part of why patience is in such short supply right now. But the difference this time might be the leadership overseeing it. Ben Johnson, with his background as a detail-oriented offensive mind, seems committed to playing the long game. He's not reacting to every interception or every headline. He's focused on building a quarterback who can sustain success, not just flash it. If you rewatch the game, you can see exactly what Johnson's talking about. There are moments where Williams shows poise under pressure, standing tall in the pocket, reading through his progressions, and delivering strikes into tight windows. There are also moments where you can tell he's still adjusting, still learning how to process fast enough to avoid mistakes. But the key thing is this: he's learning. The mistakes are correctable, not catastrophic. And when you listen to Johnson speak, you get the sense that he's far more encouraged by the process than discouraged by the result. This is the kind of leadership that builds belief in a locker room. When a coach publicly backs his quarterback after a loss, it sends a message, not just to the fans, but to every player on that roster. It tells them the organization is united. It tells them that while criticism will come from the outside, accountability and growth will come from within. Williams doesn't need to be protected from scrutiny, but he does need a coach who can filter that noise and turn it into motivation rather than pressure. Johnson seems to understand that balance perfectly. The coming weeks will be crucial. The Bears' schedule doesn't get any easier, and the margin for error in the NFL is razor thin. But if there's a silver lining from this latest loss, it's that the relationship between Johnson and Williams appears to be solidifying. The coach's words weren't empty praise. They were grounded in specific improvements and tangible progress. That's how you know the evaluation is real. Johnson isn't simply defending his player. He's documenting his growth. So while fans might be frustrated and pundits might continue to debate whether Caleb Williams is the guy, the only opinions that truly matter right now are coming from inside that Bears facility. Ben Johnson's message was clear. The kid is improving, he's working, and the game is starting to slow down for him. That's how greatness begins, not with overnight results, but with steady, relentless growth in the face of adversity. And if you're watching closely, you can see it. The leadership, the accountability, the flashes of brilliance, they're all there. The wins will come, but for now, Johnson and Williams are focused on building something that lasts. In a city starved for stability at quarterback, that's worth being patient for. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. All right, folks, buckle up because the NFL world is absolutely buzzing right now. And if what's being whispered around the league turns out to be true, we could be looking at one of the most game-changing moves in recent Chicago Bears history. Word on the street is that Alvin Kamara, yes, that Alvin Kamara, the electric, all-purpose running back from the New Orleans Saints, could be on his way to Soldier Field. You heard me right, Kamara to the Bears. And if this deal actually goes through, it could reshape not just the Bears' offense, but the entire NFC North. Imagine the chaos that's coming if Kamara teams up with rookie phenom Caleb Williams. This might just be the kind of offensive duo Chicago fans have been dreaming about for decades. It's not official yet, But the smoke is thick, and where there's smoke in the NFL, there's almost always a fire smoldering beneath it. Let's take a moment to think about what this would actually mean. Alvin Kamara isn't just any running back. He's one of the most versatile, dynamic offensive weapons in football. Since he entered the league back in 2017, Kamara's been a nightmare for defenses. That rare mix of power, patience, and pure burst that makes linebackers freeze and safeties look silly in open space. He can cut like a scalpel through traffic, catch passes like a slot receiver, and always seems to find a way to make something out of nothing. If you've watched him play for the Saints, you know what I mean. He's that rare guy who doesn't just play football, he changes it. And now imagine him in the same backfield as Caleb Williams. The Bears have already been making waves since drafting the USC prodigy first overall, and fans in Chicago have dared to hope again after years, no, decades, of offensive mediocrity. Williams brings that spark, that Mahomes-like improvisation, that confidence and swagger that can turn a struggling franchise into a headline machine. He's the type of quarterback who thrives in chaos, who can extend plays, throw off platform, and make defenses pay when they overcommit. Now add Kamara, a back who thrives on those same kinds of broken plays, who can turn a 5-yard dump-off into a 50-yard touchdown. And suddenly you've got a combination that could terrorize defensive coordinators across the conference. This isn't just about numbers or names. It's about chemistry. It's about energy. Caleb Williams is still finding his footing in the pros, learning how to handle NFL speed and pressure. A veteran like Kamara, with his experience and football IQ, could be the perfect mentor and safety blanket. He knows how to read defenses. He knows when to stay in for pass protection, and he knows when to slip out into the flat and give his quarterback an escape route. For a rookie QB, having someone like Kamara beside you is like having a second offensive coordinator in the huddle, except this one can break tackles and juke defenders out of their cleats. Now, let's talk about what this means for the NFC North. The division has been under the thumb of the Detroit Lions recently, with Dan Campbell's crew turning grit and grind into gold. The Vikings are retooling, the Packers are figuring out who they are post-Rodgers, and the Bears, well, the Bears have been that team on the verge, always, almost there. But if this Kamara deal happens, that almost disappears overnight. We could be talking about a legitimate contender, a team that not only fights for playoff relevance, but shakes up the power dynamics in the conference. The NFC North would instantly become one of the most unpredictable divisions in football. The most fascinating part about this rumor is how unexpected it feels. Kamara and New Orleans have been a pair that seemed inseparable. He's been the face of that offense alongside guys like Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. And even as the Saints transitioned into the post-Brees era, Kamara remained that constant, the heartbeat of the team. But the NFL doesn't deal in sentiment. Cap space, contracts, and roster construction often win out over loyalty. The Saints have been juggling salary cap issues for years now, and the whispers say they might be ready to reset. Moving Kamara, while shocking, could give them some breathing room. For Chicago, though, it's an opportunity that's almost too good to pass up. The idea of Kamara in navy and orange feels wild, but stylistically, it fits like a glove. Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron has been preaching versatility and unpredictability since the offseason, wanting an offense that can morph and adapt depending on the defense. Kamara is the definition of adaptability. You can line him up in the backfield, in the slot, out wide, even motion him pre-snap to mess with coverage reads. He brings that chess piece quality, the kind of player who forces defenses to declare their intentions before the snap. You can't hide against Kamara. You have to account for him every single play. That, in turn, opens things up for Caleb Williams to do what he does best: read, react, and improvise. Let's not forget what Kamara brings in the locker room. He's calm, confident, and quietly fiery. Not the rah-rah type, but the kind of player who leads by example, shows up, works, performs, and doesn't need to say much because everyone already knows what he brings. For a young team like Chicago, with a rookie QB and a head coach who's still defining his identity, that kind of veteran presence can be priceless. Kamara's seen it all: the big games, the heartbreaks, the controversies. He knows how to keep a locker room steady through chaos, and that might be exactly what the Bears need as they try to climb out of their rebuilding phase. What would this mean for the fans? Oh, Chicago fans would lose their minds. Soldier Field would explode with excitement. You'd see Kamara jerseys flying off shelves, the buzz on social media would go nuclear, and suddenly every national sports show would be talking about the Bears again, not as a punchline, but as a problem. You can already picture it. Caleb Williams rolling out of the pocket, flipping a no-look pass to Kamara in the flat, and Kamara cutting back across the field, leaving defenders diving at air. Highlight reels for days. This is the kind of duo that doesn't just win games. They sell hope, they sell belief, they sell possibility. Of course, it's still just a rumor for now. Nothing official. The league's front offices are quiet, as they always are when something big is brewing. But insiders have been hinting for weeks that Chicago isn't done making moves. They've already revamped the offense, beefed up the O-line, and brought in weapons for their young QB. Adding Kamara would be the cherry on top, the final piece that turns a developing offense into a legitimate threat. And for Kamara, maybe this is the fresh start he needs. New scenery, new energy, new challenge. The Saints gave him his platform, but Chicago could give him something more, a chance to redefine his legacy alongside one of the most talked-about young quarterbacks in the league. So, whether this deal happens tomorrow, next week, or fizzles out completely, one thing's clear. The Bears are done being quiet. They're tired of being the underdog, tired of being the team people overlook. They've got the quarterback, they've got the momentum, and if Alvin Kamara really does join the party, they might finally have the firepower to back it all up. Until it's official, we'll keep our ears to the ground and our eyes on those transaction wires. But man, if this one hits, the NFC North better start preparing right now, because Caleb Williams and Alvin Kamara together could be something special. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.